Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. It's your host, Eric, here to give you all the cool factoids of all the wrestling drama and all the cool storylines that are kind of portraying around the wrestling kingdom. First and foremost, thank you for tuning into the Wrestling Laureate Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. Today we will be covering a SmackDown preview as well as kind of like a review of NXT, Ring of Honor, TNA Impact. We also are going to kind of go through like a round robin of the wrestling news that are very prominent and that I think y'all should know heading into the weekend. And we're going to look at Kyle O'Reilly coming back in AEW after a neck fusion surgery and kind of going through the whole history of like wrestlers who have had that surgery and came back or have not yet to come back. That'll be a pretty good show for you all lined up. Um, Before it starts, I would like to ask you to like and follow the show, of course. And We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so I can see it, so we can talk back and forth. And also it really helps the show. So leave something positive, on GSMC Podcast Network. We love peace, love, and positivity. Again, the link is the gsmcpodcast.net. All right, let's go ahead and move into our first segment here. So TNA, Ring of Honor, and NXT. On Thursday, we had the Impact show. We also had the Ring of Honor show. But on tonight, we have an NXT Level Up. I know, like a lot of wrestling, happening this week. A lot of wrestling happens every week. A lot of wrestling happens every weekend. So it seems impossible to kind of stay on top of all the news and stuff like that, especially all the storylines and who has what belt and New Japan Wrestling and all this other kind of stuff. But I feel like if you have a real passion for it, you'll kind of have that strive. First and foremost, we're gonna kind of run through the TNA Impact review here. Speedball Mountain and Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, defeated the Rascals and Steve Macklin in a match, which was I saw highlights and it was pretty good. It was very good. Usually the Ring of Honor and TNA matches are pretty good, as well as New Japan. Um, Spitfire defeated Bia Moss and Vanna Black to kind of. It was an on-title match, but ultimately they kind of used that match as like a kind of like a flex, kind of like a flex. How like I think that TNA is going to keep the Knockouts Championship. They're going to keep that strap on them for a pretty long time. I don't know. Spitfire is spin fire, so to speak. AJ Francis defeated Joe Henry. Of course, AJ Francis cost Joe Henry the his title back at Sacrifice. And the match was it was no less than what we expected. We kind of expected like kind of like a lot of animosity, a lot of built up anger, a lot of hate, a lot of aggression, and just like a lot of like revenge. Like Henry wanted that vengeance to go after Francis, but unfortunately he couldn't fight him off. Francis was able to pick up the dub. So good for Francis, AJ Francis. Ace Austin, he loses to Frankie Kazarian. Josh Alexander defeated Opeg Prodius. Mustafa Ali defended his X Division championship, and once again, and still X Division champion Mustafa Ali was able to fight off the veteran Chris Sabin. But all in all, it was a pretty good match. The way the kind of match ended was like a classic like how the champion is overmatched and Chris Sabin is probably a lot better than Mustafa Ali. But he used the ropes in the pin, which is like, kind of like a unwritten like rule or like a rule of thumb in wrestling that's kind of what like heels do. This is kind of what cheaters do to, maintain the championship status. So I guess all in all, Ollie did a good job kind of, keeping kayfabe there. So moving on to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor. Billy Starks defeated Diamante um, via submission through the crossface during this women's TV women's TV championship tournament. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard to expunge on you guys, but I don't know why. Tongue tied here. Lee Johnson defeated Aaron Solo. Also, we had Kiera Hogan defeating Roban Renegade, Lady Frost, and Layla Hirsch. Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon from the WWE NXT, defeated Aisha, and that match was I saw highlights of the match, and it was just it was just basically a beatdown. It was a beatdown, basically kind of showing the strength of the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena. Just kind of stating her claim. I don't know what woman in that division really kind of has a chance against her because she has been so impressive. She has been impressive her whole entire career, to be honest. WWE, if you're listening, you kind of missed out on a pretty good gem there, but you know, but of course that's just my opinion. Um, Top Flight and Action Andretti defeated the Iron Savages. Mercedes Martinez defeated Abaddon. And remember, Mercedes Martinez was my pick to win the whole thing for the women's TV tournament to win that championship. So make sure you pay attention to that. Also, Commander defeated Slim, Jack Cartwheel, AR Fox, in that kind of like a fatal four-way match that seems like it happens a lot on their weekly show, which is kind of cool. I know a lot of it seems like whenever WWE kind of needs like a main event match, they kind of impose that four-way matchup as a stipulation for like either a title win or for just kind of like a main event on like Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. But I don't know, this is something that I've been talking about within the last couple podcasts that I think that I know they should kind of adopt some of the AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Whatever we have as resources to make us stronger as an organization, why not take them? Why not use it? No one's copying. No one's copying nobody. This is just wrestling at its finest. Moving on, we have Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy. This is Orange Cassidy's first match since 2019. They defeated Cole Carter and Griff Garrison. I watched highlights of this match as well, and I liked how Orange Cassidy was performing. He was obviously when you deal with an injury or something kind of backstage or off the ring, it's kind of hard to come back. It's kind of hard to come back because much like in the NFL, much like in the NBA, much like in all the major sports, when you come back from like a horrific injury or just something that's enabling you from performing your natural physical abilities, I don't know, the moment you step back into that environment, it kind of shakes you up a little bit. Like I can imagine, like when I remember watching Paul George when he snapped his ankle in half. I remember watching that video where it was like, "Oh," and I was like, dude, how is that guy able to hop onto a basketball court? But that's what makes them professional athletes, and that's the reason why they should be respected. That they much like wrestlers and much like professional athletes is, they give it all for the factor of entertainment. They have this passion toward this sport and we all eat it up. And I don't know. That's why like sometimes when, you're booing at like at a basketball game or a football game, just remember that these guys, their physical capabilities definitely outweigh ours. But I'm not saying no one's better than anybody, but I don't know. I'm just, like, I can talk trash all I want, but at the same time, I'm not gonna like talk trash on an athlete where I'm like, man, like I can't do that. So why would I just kind of berate somebody who has these God-given abilities? And obviously they're doing it for my entertainment. So I don't know. Sometimes you gotta beat out ignorance with a little respect and a little humbleness. So next time you go to an event, just show the athletes some respect. I'm not saying you don't, but I don't know. Um, Next, we're going to quickly touch on NXT Level Up, which is going to be broadcasted on Peacock. So if you're not watching SmackDown, I think like right now, if you're on the Pacific or East Coast, I think SmackDown is currently airing. Um, I don't know, just give it a watch. Keep it on like a little side TV, or keep it on, if you have like a Peacock account on your phone or a tablet or like a TV off to the side, like play. I don't know. NXT is pretty cool to watch, guys, because you have all these people kind of striving toward one goal is to make the main roster. To make the main roster, kind of the reason why people like watching college football is because college football, you have all these guys trying to make the NFL, thus kind of making it more entertaining to see because you see these guys do like extraordinary things because they want to get noticed by like scouts. And that. So that's how I kind of view NXT, and kind of like a minor league for the WWE. Um, During the NXT Level Up, we will have Rua makes her monumental return against Sinclair. Also, Carly Bright versus Lola Vice, and Channing the Stacks Lorenzo is going to fight Loria Crest Crestafino. Crestafino, like all these wrestlers have these very unique names, and I dig it, of course, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to pronounce sometimes. All right, so don't go anywhere. I hope you enjoyed that first segment. The second segment we have in store for you was a WWE Smackdown live in Memphis, Tennessee. We're just gonna kind of go through the rundown and talk about potential storylines where they would kind of use this SmackDown as more toward like a setup toward Mania. Because you got to remember, there's only like I think two or three SmackDowns until Mania, and The Rock and his wrestling movie, not wrestling movie, MMA movie coming out, and so The Rock is going to be gone for a little while. So I feel like I kind of really want to know where they're taking this bloodline, storyline before we head into Mania, because like I, expressed on my last podcast, it's just I don't want it to be rushed at all. I want things to make sense. That's kind of the reason why a lot of wrestling fans dislike the WWE is because their lack of continuity. Like something that can happen one week, the next week, you don't hear about it. You don't like, they don't really touch on it. It's every week is kind of like a new segment, but I feel like to get the fans invested into like a storyline or like a feud between superstars, you kind of have to like, do a little more hard work on like the storyline and like building up to what you kind of want to accomplish. And I think well, I've read online and articles and stuff like that of people that's the reason why they do not like the WWE. But I think they're getting better. I really honestly think they're getting better. So in that. So we have a SmackDown preview ahead, so make sure you don't go anywhere. All right.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. I'm your host, E here. And we recently, our last segment, we touched on just basically all the wrestling news that kind of happened on Thursday that are, that's happening today. We have NXT Level Up, we had Ring of Honor yesterday, and we also have TNA Impact. And both shows were very, very good from what I saw from the highlights and stuff like that. But NXT's kind of Level Up is happening as we speak. So if you want to catch it, hit Peacock, but don't leave this podcast. Stay on this podcast, But if keep, like I said, keep like a little side phone, maybe like a little kind of like a tablet or whatever, just something that'll kind of help you stream it. Wrestling is an addiction, ladies and gentlemen, and your boy E here has it to like the max. All right, so before we go any further, we get questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure your question gets read on air, I beg you to use the tips and donations link at the GSMC podcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions to the top of the list so I can see it. And also, it really helps the show. We love positive feedback. All feedback is a gift, but positive feedback is, obviously more welcome because who wants to know they suck? I hope I don't suck. I'm just kidding. Uh, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, give me your opinions, tell me things you want me to further, elaborate on. We're all wrestling fans here. Y'all my wrestling peeps. Um, so I know we are a special brand and we like it, we like our wrestling. We're very particular, human folk, but although we are very, very simple. So I don't know. I love all my wrestling peeps out there. Um, Also, it really helps the show. Again, the link is the gsmcpodcast.net. So, share a link, share a question. I would love to speak to you guys. All right. So, moving on to segment 2, we have our SmackDown preview. So SmackDown, like I said, is going to be live in Memphis, Tennessee. That's my best, accent. If you don't like it, I understand. Just don't get angry. Okay. Moving on to the SmackDown, because SmackDown is going to be the next couple of 3 SmackDowns are going to be totally lit, ladies and gentlemen, because this is building up toward WrestleMania. So essentially, you have to have these WrestleMania like caliber promos just completely overflowing your screen on the Fox network, which is absolutely awesome, especially as a wrestling fan. I'm excited, to watch SmackDown. I'm excited. I get excited watching all of wrestling. I love wrestling, and I know you guys do too. So let's all do this together. Let's all band, and let's create this wrestling society where you all can share your questions and comments on the link. And I don't know. Let's just talk about wrestling. This is what I'm here for. Tune into the Wrestling Laureate podcast every day. I'll be here. I'm your man. You can always count on this guy. But that's I love wrestling, and I know you guys do too. I guess that's the main goal of this little rant, and it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm just kidding. But all right, SmackDown. Let's focus on SmackDown. Eric's focus on SmackDown. So something big's gonna happen with Logan Paul tonight. I don't think they're gonna wait till next week because I feel like you need 2 weeks to kind of build this momentum toward the triple threat match that I thought and that I really, really think that's going to happen between Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and the United States champion, sensation Logan Paul. And I think it's going to be awesome. Like, it's going to be a good match. I think I'm just kind of wondering how the writing in WWE is gonna kind of have Kevin Owens and Randy Orton going at it. Last week, you saw Randy Orton take a swing at Logan Paul with the brass knuckles, and Logan Paul ducked. He, dived out of the ring, and Kevin Owens kind of saw that punch coming his way, and he was like, "Whoa, like, are we gonna do this, man? Like, we both hate this kid. You know, why are we trying to fight each other?" But then they fist pumped each other, and it was all good. But so it should be interesting to see if I myself can kind of devise a story plan Hmm. Um, maybe that classic WWE where there's like a where they tag together Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which they already have, to fight Austin Theory and Grayson Waller one more time. But maybe like Austin Theory goes for like a clothesline or a spear, and then Orton ducks out of the way, but then Kevin Owens gets hit, and then he's like, "Hey, like what the hell?" Like I don't know. They need to make this triple threat match happen. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't know what way they're gonna do it, but I think it just needs to happen, and that's probably honestly for the United States Championship. You have the talent of Randy Orton, the Viper, and you also have Kevin Owens fight and YouTube sensation Logan Paul. I think that's a WrestleMania Night One main event, caliber match. But of course, it's going to be the tag team match between Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns and The Rock. But I don't. I think if they make this match happen, it can draw a lot of heads. So I don't know. It's also moving on. Um, it's kind of interesting to see how this damage control storyline is going to play out. Like, to be honest, Io Sky is, talented athlete, absolutely great women's champion. She was amazing in NXT. She was amazing in damage control on the SmackDown roster, Raw roster. But, like, I'm trying to think of a world or like a predicament where Io Sky retains the championship and who would be her next challenger. I don't know. Like, in terms of being a WWE writer, like that solution would kind of lead to more questions as opposed to stemming to like multiple storyline sources. But if Bailey becomes the champion, you have a lot of people that would probably want a piece of Bailey. Like I can see Bailey winning and Charlotte Flair coming out the next week wanting a piece of Bailey, or um perhaps someone from NXT makes their way up to try to challenge Bailey, or maybe Dakota Kai, be like, "Oh, you destroyed, or you beat Io Sky, but now I want a piece of you." Or Liv Morgan coming on to the show, or Alexa Bliss coming back in Cleveland, her hometown in Ohio, to challenge Bailey. Obviously, they have a past, Bailey and Alexa Bliss, so I think that would be pretty dope to kind of set for the books for August 3rd, SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer in Cleveland, Ohio. So I think that would be pretty dope. Also, you kind of have the Bobby Lashley and the Karrion Cross feud kind of blowing up, and it's ready to kind of set sail on, I don't know, just something. Like the past couple of weeks, they've just been beating the hell out of each other. They've been interfering in each other's matches. Enough's enough. I'm very interested to see how WWE is gonna like kind of. They need to make a match stipulation to where AOP and Karrion Cross, the Final Testament, are fighting the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, but this kind of needs to be like something crazy, something super crazy for WrestleMania. I suggested a Hell in a Cell, which would be which would be pretty cool. I think a Hell in a Cell match would be ideal, but Hell in a Cell matches ever since they kind of have developed that Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, I know they kind of saved that type of matchup for that kind of pay-per-view, so I really don't see that kind of happening that way. Um, Perhaps, oh man, I would say like a War Games match. Imagine like a War Games match. That would be so cool, but that's not gonna happen, unfortunately. So you'll probably see something like a no holds barred, or maybe like a TLC match between the competitors. I can imagine Montez Ford with the kendo stick, just like beating the heck out of a Akon, you know, the one of the AOP members. I almost said Akon. I don't know why, but Rizar. Like I know they have some weird names, but you know, um, Bobby Lashley. as I keep like mentioning on the show that I don't know, I think he deserves more. I want to see Bobby Lashley in that heavyweight category. I'm sorry. Like as a WWE fan, I'm not satisfied with where my boy Bobby is right now. Like y'all need to take care of this guy. This guy's a retired like army vet. Like he's been with the company so long. Um so long. Oh man. I don't know. I just think it's time for him to finally just put a real strap on him as opposed to like he did have the WWE championship, but I just felt like during the pandemic and during wrestling during that time, especially during the WWE, they kind of just had placeholders for the championship match. Like you had Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre's a phenomenal athlete, but I felt like since they kind of had that coronavirus pandemic where there were limited superstars, where there weren't that many people allowed on site in the stadium, or like around the squared circle itself. I remember watching like for me, and this is how much of a wrestling fan dork I am, is it never really dawned on me that the coronavirus pandemic was taking place until Triple H came out in a just a fanless arena. It was dead. And he basically said, due to the pandemic, we and to protect our superstars, our fans, and the WWE universe, we have decided to perform in, empty buildings essentially. And I remember when that happened, I kind of was like, whoa, like there's nobody out in the crowd. Like this is crazy. Like if Triple H says it's a big deal, like I know like the president said something, but it's Triple H, I'm sorry, but I don't know. Moving on, we have AJ Styles kind of teasing LA Knight, kind of like tormenting him, kind of showing promos and stuff like that, that he wants a piece of the LA Knight. I think this match is going to be pretty darn good. LA Knight he's so over with the WWE crowd, and AJ Styles right now is like he's not really into that championship category or like the storyline, which kind of sucks because I know AJ can kind of hold up that kind of thing. But I don't know. It'd be nice it would have been so cool to see AJ Styles like challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship match. But hey, I'm not a writer. If WWE wants to hire me, you know where to find your boy E here on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. Hanging out with his wrestling peeps. But it should be cool. I think this is going to be a good storyline of how they kind of finish up things here. Um, the LA Knight is very gifted. He has the crowd on his side. He knows how to just like kind of vamp up an arena, kind of get people into it, kind of people get people into the wrestling spirit. And there's not a lot of people that could do that like the LA Knight. And AJ Styles, he had his fallout with Carl Anderson and basically the rest of the Bullet Club. But I I think AJ Styles right now, he might be heading on his way out of the WWE, heading toward AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor or TNA, which, he was pretty popular in TNA. But I know he has a contract signing that he has to do with wrestling or with WWE. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And in terms of the Bloodline storyline, there's not really much to kind of further talk about. You know, this is huge. This is a huge storyline. I'm not trying to diminish the value of this storyline, but I don't know. I just feel that right now you kind of have Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I think the storyline will kind of take off more as soon as the match is done in night one. But I kind of, when Michael Cole asked Cody Rhodes, could he trust Seth Rollins after everything he said about wanting to beat Roman Reigns? Seth Rollins injured Cody Rhodes when Cody Rhodes made his return back to the WWE, and Seth Rollins was that heel, that the visionary. It should be interesting to see how this all unfolds because, like, I'm a Seth Rollins fan, and if I was in Cody's shoes, I probably wouldn't really trust anybody. But then again, the reason why he kind of let Seth accept the match was that he wants a fair shot at Roman. And if he had a fair shot at Roman last Mania, he would be the Universal, WWE champion at this time. But I don't know. Only time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go anywhere. Our next segment, we have our wrestling news round robin. We're going off into the weekend. Kind of just like news that every wrestling fan should kind of know. The mostly the major ones that I've read online that I've kind of got notifications on via social media. So stick around. It should be a good one.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, all right, all right. And we are back at the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. We recently talked about, we reviewed TNA Impact as well as Ring of Honor. And we also previewed NXT Level Up. And we also talked about WWE Smackdown and how all this is kind of leading up to WrestleMania. So you can anticipate these WWE Smackdown not pay-per-views, events or weekly shows to kind of step up their game a little bit, kind of have WrestleMania type promos. So in that. So what I kind of want to talk about first here is we have our segment about the wrestling news round robin. So let me go ahead and start this up. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is it's pretty huge, especially if you're a wrestling fan. If you're a fan of kind of the Attitude Era, kind of progressing into the Ruthless Aggression era, is that Brock Lesnar was anticipated to come back into the WWE to kind of challenge Gunther. Perhaps, I guess, according to storylines, is that he was supposed to compete in the Royal Rumble and essentially, I don't know if he was going to win it, but he was supposed to challenge Gunther. And I know that stories have been coming around saying that Gunther's dream opponent would be Brock Lesnar. But due to circumstances and a scandal, allegations amongst him and WWE higher ups like Vince McMahon, um, they report that Brock Lesnar is probably not going to be within the WWE until maybe the end of August. That's what they were kind of saying, is that the Beast Incarnate will not make his return to WWE for at least another couple weeks. So they kind of smooth this stuff over, figure it out. The former Universal Champion, the former UFC Heavyweight Champion, obviously. I went over this in a couple podcasts ago, saying that although Brock Lesnar was very he wasn't really there every show, you can make sure that he made every pay-per-view event, he made every opponent he faced, he made every match that considered him on the match card exclusive. Like when Brock Lesnar was fighting somebody, you saw it on social media, all over social media. You saw it on TikToks, you saw it on Instagram Reels, you saw it on Facebook posts. And you didn't just see it via pro wrestling. You also saw it on UFC, because UFC also keeps tabs on Brock Lesnar, because of course, he was the UFC heavyweight champion. Like he did pretty good as a UFC wrestler. Actually, one of the best, as opposed to like Dave Bautista and CM Punk, who fought in UFC and kind of didn't really make it to where they wanted to be. But you go out there and you give it all you got. You give it all you got. Sometimes you wish more, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a good fighter. Like a lot of people say that, oh, this fake, this choreographed, scripted WWE star wants to try to make a name in a real man sport. Like get over it. Get over it. Like wrestling is a sport. Wrestling, these guys get hurt more often than UFC fighters. These guys fight like twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And UFC fighters, they fight once a week or once a year, once or twice a year. It all depends how big the guy is. So let's put that one to bed right there. So I don't know. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Like I said, I kind of wanted to see Brock Lesnar come back. To kind of see how he mixes up with Gunther. I think that would be one hell of a match. But hey, patience is a virtue. Maybe as the WWE universe, we'll stay patient and we'll get the match that we desire. In that. So next wrestling news I want to touch on is that The Undertaker is considering making a comeback. Will he be here in this WrestleMania? I doubt it. It's kind of like I know Taker, The Undertaker right now. He's in amazing shape. He's probably been in the best shape of his life, like within the last 10 or 15 years. I know that you know, he's right now. I think he's living in Texas. I think he's that American badass like Texas guy. Like I said, the last match that I saw him in, I believe, was that match with AJ Styles with the studio production where they were fighting at that house and like he chokeslammed him into like the buried alive kind of grave. But I don't know. I feel like The Undertaker in his state probably could win a couple more matches, but The Undertaker is prominently known and his kind of MO is fighting superstars at WrestleMania. But I just don't know right now a superstar that would be able to challenge The Undertaker. And if The Undertaker would have hinted at coming back at this WrestleMania, I feel like, signals would have been off by now. Like there would have been promos, there would have been like little Easter eggs where like you'd see like a burning cross or the T or like a casket or just like the lightning strike like but you kind of really haven't really been seeing that, so I'm not really getting my hopes up. But I don't know. The Undertaker being in wrestling is just amazing. Like I know some of his matches really aren't up to par. Like I watched that match. I think it was at oh man. I think it was at Crown Jewel where him and Kane fought Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And I remember watching that match and I was so excited because I was like, attitude, error, making a comeback, baby. But then I watched that match and I just kind of saw these guys like, I don't know. I was a little disappointed, to be honest. It was like finding out Santa Claus isn't real or like the Easter Bunny or finding out your favorite sports heroes, a total jerk. Like it was like such a letdown. And I just remember Undertaker he was attempting to make like a tombstone pile driver on Triple H, and he just like stumbled, like he just wasn't. I don't like. I think that when that happened, I kind of turned down the volume a little bit, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, I don't know. I was looking forward to this match the most, and but they get older, and maybe I need to realize that as a wrestling fan, like you know, kind of get out of lolly da land. But I don't know. What I want you to take away from this is the Undertaker's looking good. He's looking fast. He's looking fresh. He's looking ready to get back in that ring. So we'll see where the Undertaker comes back. You know, or this is just like hoopla. Hopefully it's not because I like Taker. The next one I have, John Cena is really thinking retirement. I know I recently shared a podcast on the John Cena telling on the Drew Barrymore show that he has not yet received an invitation for this year's WrestleMania. But John Cena retiring, like I don't know, like growing up watching wrestling, John Cena was probably one of the most dominant wrestlers during my time. Probably during I want to say probably during the 2004 or 5 or two. I think 2002 he beat Kurt Angle or he beat Brock Lesnar. But I don't know, like in 2004, 2005, so probably ah man, he was very, very, very prominent in the world like professional wrestling industry for the longest time. Like till like 2018, like this guy's been like, around for a decade plus and he's still producing good matches. He's still doing killer promos and during his later career, he was putting over like a lot of young talent, kind of like Austin Theory, and Bray Wyatt. Like he kind of wanted Bray Wyatt to kind of progress. But John Cena's just good for wrestling. I like John Cena. Like he has a new movie out where he's like an actor portraying this fictional character by these guys that's on Amazon Prime. That I kind of want to watch. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but you know, I'm gonna watch it because it's John Cena. John Cena is amazing. John Cena is a fighter. John Cena is a wrestling god. No, that was JBL. But anyways, John Cena is just he's WWE. He's represented a company very, very, very well within his tenure. So I don't know. I hope he's not going to say goodbye, but maybe sometimes it's hard to say goodbye. But John All right now, I think it's the perfect time to move on from this Johnson because I'm getting a little emotional here. All right, now we're going to move on to the next major wrestling story is that RVD has been reported and like that he's talking with AEW with Tony Khan. Um, if RVD comes back, that would be pretty cool. I think he's like 50 years old now, but oh man, he made such an impact. I remember when he debuted with the WWE Invasion kind of thing. He was one of the superstars out of the ECW roster and the WCW roster to kind of flourish with Vince McMahon. And I think that had to do with a lot of his talent. But once again, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I think from the get-go, WCW and ECW superstars kind of came into the WWE, kind of like, set up to fail. But like I said, but that's conspiracy theorist to me. But I don't know. RVD did really, really good. And I remember during that the ECW one night stand where he challenged John Cena for the title. It made waves. It was pretty prominent. It was cool. I remember when he would just do the Rolling Thunder. He would do the 5-star frog splash. He would go coast to coast. RVD is definitely one of the best, like high flyers. He was the best cruiserweight, but then again, he can fight in the heavyweight category. He was huge in ECW. Obviously, a lot of ECW legends like Sandman, Just Incredible, Tommy Dreamer, Terry Funk, the Dudley Boys, and I would consider Paul Heyman like part of like the ECW history because he was the guy. Like Paul Heyman was pretty prominent. But anyways, so RVD, if he came back to AEW, I think that would be pretty cool. Like kind of like a nostalgia kind of feeling. I don't think they would put him through too many like gruesome matches. Kind of like how they had Sting in like the tag team division with Darby Allin. That's where I can kind of see the Rob Van Dam like the RVD like character kind of be figured out through the tag team division. But hey, if some age is just a number. Age is just a number. Like you could work out super hard. You can be a wrestler. And I think even Ric Flair's wrestling matches, and he's in his 70s. A lot of superstars are still fighting at at older ages, but I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see how RVD kind of ends up in that. So all right, that was my wrestling news round robin. And next, so don't go anywhere. Our segment number, no, not the. We already did that one. Um, so our last segment is going to be about Kyle O'Reilly making his way back into the ring in AEW after suffering a injury and having a one neck fusion surgery. And I kind of want to further elaborate on superstars that have had the same injury and that has had this same operation. Some superstars actually sustained the operation twice, like Edge, I think Stone Cold Steve Austin, and some of them never made it back to the ring, and I don't know, some of them are still kind of on a hiatus, but that's the one I kind of want to talk to you guys about the most. So stick around. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. Just to kind of revamp on what we spoke about, we started the show off with kind of like Thursday wrestling recap, where you had TNA Impact and Ring of Honor, and also a little teaser on NXT Level Up. And then we moved on to the SmackDown preview and how the SmackDowns from here on out are probably going to be like the best SmackDowns you've ever watched this whole year because they have to build up toward Mania. And the third segment, we talked about just like a wrestling news round robin, just stuff to know going into the weekend before I leave you guys for 2 days and we rejoin on Monday. Just kind of things to keep tabs on, like RVD with possible return, The Undertaker considering coming back for a couple more matches, Brock Lesnar being kind of tied up in those scandals and everything, and John Cena questioning retirement. So these are all pretty huge things that I feel like you need our wrestling attention because we're wrestling fans and we, by golly, stick together. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to our fourth segment here is going to be about Kyle O'Reilly, former Undisputed Era, former Undisputed Kingdom, kind of jumping back into AEW's singles competitiveness. Um, like I think I mentioned before in the podcast that I don't know if this is too fast for him to come back. I hope it's not. I hope this is like perfect for him, and I hope that he totally kills it. But neck injuries are really, really, really serious. Like, and that's the reason why sometimes when kind of like reiterating on this whole people thinking that wrestling is not a sport, that the slightest thing that goes wrong, that could be your career. Hell, that could be your life. Look at like Droz from wrestling back in Raw during the Attitude Era, where D'Lo Brown was he hit I think a pile driver, and he botched it. Now Droz, I think he passed away, but he was crippled his whole entire life. Like he was stuck in a wheelchair. I remember that. And that's just something that's pretty serious. And I kind of hope the best for Kyle O'Reilly and kind of moving forward with that. You also had Edge. Edge was in a match with Brodus Clay. And Brodus Clay was coming off from NXT and he had the Funkadactyls with Naomi. Naomi was there. And he performed, I think, a DDT and he botched it and ultimately almost cost Edge his career. Like Edge was out of wrestling competition for years on years. And a lot of people were wondering when he was coming back. And I remember his heartfelt retirement speech where he basically told wrestlers and the locker room and fans and his family that he cannot perform wrestling anymore. The doctors basically said, if you wrestle, not that you will die, but it would be really, really bad for your health. And Edge obviously is back. He has had two neck fusion surgeries. So obviously right now he's kind of doing his thing in AEW where he's supposed to fight Christian Cage in a last man standing match next week, Toronto. So I'm looking very, very forward to that match as well. The next one I want to talk about that I looked on the Raw roster the other day because something piqued my interest about this guy is Robert Roode. I remember Robert Roode, the glorious one, glorious. I won't give in. Like he did so good in TNA, and he came to NXT from TNA, and he was a fantastic NXT champion. And I was wondering, I was like, whatever happened to Robert Roode? Like, I wonder if he signed with another company, but he's still on the WWE active roster. But he's also doing producer work as of as currently. But he's also had a neck injury, and he also has had a neck fusion surgery. But I think he's kind of playing a little more safe than Kyle O'Reilly is. But I don't know, like these kind of injuries that wrestlers sustain, like you could be the hottest thing on the market in the wrestling world, and then bam, something like, as simple as a botched DDT or like jumping off of the top rope could just end it all. So I think that's maybe why, as a wrestling fan, I kind of admire these guys, and I look up to these guys. I'm like, oh man, like every day they're essentially putting their lives on the line for our entertainment, which is why I love wrestling. Um, Also, another one that I kind of want to talk about was how Stone Cold Steve Austin also got a neck injury. Stone Cold Steve Austin was rising up. He was like the best wrestler during the Attitude Era, like no questions asked. Like he had his feud with Vince McMahon, and he was basically like he was the talk of the talk. Like even sports shows other than wrestling, pro wrestling, like magazines, we're talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin made the Attitude Era prominent, made it very like kind of put it on the map. He put it on the map. Shawn definitely helped a lot, but Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was the man. He was the oh man. He was like that anti-hero where like he didn't really care about like what people thought of him, but you know by dang well he was going to flip off Vince McMahon, give him the double bird, give him a stunner, and like drink some beers, the Texas rattlesnake. But like I said, he had a neck injury, and imagine if he never had his neck injury. How much success would Shawn Michaels would have had if Stone Cold was on the roster? Imagine how much success that The Undertaker had because Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't there. Imagine how much success that Triple H had because Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't there. These are all things, and obviously things happen for a reason. And Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and I don't know, they all went on to kind of fulfill their destiny as like a huge main role in WWF/WWE. So obviously, what they kind of did within the company was very very good. Obviously, if they won the Monday Night War between WCW, but I don't know. Neck injuries are bad. Neck injuries are one of those things where it's not like any other injury. This is an injury that if the slightest thing goes wrong, you can never walk again. And that's huge. That's huge. Like I know a lot of these wrestlers aren't just the wrestlers you see on TV. They're husbands, they're fathers, they're brothers, they're sisters. They want to one day walk their daughter down the aisle and give her away. They want to dance with her on the wedding floor and stuff like that. And you know, that won't happen because of what they put on the line, what happens in the ring, the squared circle. And also, there's another wrestler, Big E from the New Day, also has had a neck injury. I remember it was a match between him and Ridge Holland. Rich Holland, where Rich Holland botched the move. And now Big E hasn't been seen in WWE for a long time. Yeah, I believe he has had 2 neck fusion surgeries. Um, I don't know. This is just also kind of kind of like a backstage kind of on the side of the ring aspect is that you kind of rely on other superstars to do the moves right to like kind of help. I remember watching a video about how Randy Orton was very, very frustrated toward Kofi Kingston because he botched a move and really actually hurt his back. And I think during the match, you can kind of see him getting frustrated at Kofi, like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, why?" Like, and I think he actually like slapped his head as like a kind of like a dude. Are you serious right now? Like, at the same time, they're performers, but at the same time, they're coworkers. They have to protect each other. And I'm guessing like someone missed a step, and I don't know, something as simple as that could, what could go wrong will go wrong or something like that. But I don't know. I just feel like wrestlers are very, 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 they're prominent athletes. They're sports stars. Wrestling, pro wrestling, either if it's AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, WWE, NXT, or the small little independent circuits going around, in Wisconsin, Los Angeles, Thousand Oaks area, Texas, Atlanta, whatever. Like, this is a sport. This is something that is, I don't know, very, 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 that it's loved by people. Wrestling has been like, I don't know. Man, there was this one like a YouTuber who basically said where they grew up, they didn't really have an NFL team or a Major League Baseball team or a basketball team. Usually, you kind of have the United States where the West Coast kind of has a lot of attention, obviously, and then you have like the East Coast, and as it kind of draws toward the Midwest area, I know the NBA has Oklahoma City, but besides that, like you kind of have a Wyoming and like Idaho and Nebraska, and South Dakota, North Dakota, and none of those really have any sports teams. Any sport. I know a lot of minor league baseball teams kind of take home there, so to speak, because a lot of like teams like, for example, like the Anaheim Angels have the Salt Lake City, Utah Bees, and because there's not a baseball team in Utah, so that's kind of like where people turn to get their baseball fix. You know what I mean? Um, and well, I was going to kind of segued off there, but if there's no really popular teams in there or like sports enigmas or conglomerates, they rely on wrestling. They rely on independent circuits that they go and they travel to and they watch every weekend that they actually really pay attention to. And I don't know, sometimes wrestling is a household name, kind of like the Dallas Cowboys or like the Los Angeles Lakers or, even the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like, all, sports serves a purpose. And that's the reason why GSMC Podcast Network is, kind of promoting sports. I love sports. You love sports. Why else are you here? In that. But this is all something that we as a community could come together and kind of just have fun, kind of just enjoy it while we have it. Kind of just, I don't know, kind of build this sense of like family. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of stuff in the world right now is, kind of, it's like, it's kind of hard to turn on the nightly news, but, sports is always there for us, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right. Well, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you guys liked it. Um, we get an we get a number of questions during the show. So like I said, don't, always remember that you have that tips and donations box. Thank you for tuning in to the Wrestling Laureate Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show. Remember to show your best Superman punch, Roman Reigns, and go ahead and punch that like and subscribe or follow button. It really does make a difference, guys. Peace, love, and positivity. Leave us a positive review. And we invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. And also remember that at the GSMC Sports Network that we have other podcasts. You know, if you're not really wrestling savvy, remember we have my boy Nelson talking basketball. We have Sam on baseball. We have Thomas in college sports. We have my man Kenneth talking football. We have TJ on sports. And we also have the Andrew Tate Show featuring Faith and the tribal chief of sports podcasting, my man Andrew Tate. So remember, that's always a possibility to go check those out. As always, I appreciate you guys just tuning into my show. Hope to see you guys here again. And have a phenomenal day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to